Fatima, and I'm the lead developer from Code for Canada. With me here on stage is Jeannie, Stewart, Smith.
Hi everyone, I'm a policy advisor with the drone safety team at Transport Canada. We're super excited to be with you here tonight to share some of our journey in helping drone pilots in Canada fly safely and legally.
We're here to tell you about something really exciting. Drones are becoming this really popular technology that's becoming a household item. And we're also here to introduce you to Geraldine. Geraldine is an Instagram photographer and influencer, and they just bought a drone. While drones can do a lot of really cool things, Geraldine wants to take their drone to take photos from the sky. They happen to live along the Saskatchewan River and often explore the Alberta countryside. They want to take their drone on their travels so they can take cool aerial shots like this.
But Geraldine is not alone. Over the last 5 years, drones have exploded onto the consumer technology marketplace. What that means today is almost 1 in 5 Canadians either owns a drone or has flown a drone. Drones have become the must-have tech toy and an essential tool for businesses.
Drones literally let you see the world in a new way. They can deliver medical supplies to congested cities or remote communities. They can also help inspect things that are really tall, like cell towers, or really long, like pipelines. And they can help first responders safely and quickly inspect a scene before moving in. But the vast majority of our drone pilots are flying for fun.
So, and very quickly, we at Transport Canada found ourselves with this huge group of new users. Flying a drone became more accessible and more interesting to more people. But with all of this new activity came a few new risks.
One of those risks is to people. Drones pose a huge danger to people on the ground. Imagine if an out-of-control, wildly spinning hunk of metal falls from a height and comes at you quickly. That's dangerous. Oof.
I'll just let you watch to the end of that because that's my favorite video. Having a bunch of new things flying around the air also poses a danger to aircraft. If you think back to the Miracle in the Hudson in 2009, birds took out both engines on a plane carrying 155 people. Now, in that case, the captain was able to land safely and everyone on board was fine, but it's not hard for us to think about how that could have gone differently. Drones pose a similar risk to birds, except that drones are made of much harder material and they have a few more batteries in them than your average bird, so the damage can be different. To help deal with some of these new risks and all of this new activity, we introduced new drone safety regulations this year. These just came into force on June 1st, so just a few weeks ago.
In February 2019, they did a survey and found that 64% of drone pilots in Canada were unaware that these new regulations were coming into play. So Transport Canada had to find a way to reach these new drone pilots in a way that they would actually understand.
So Transport Canada is used to dealing with large transportation companies. We joke that I have WestJet and Air Canada and the major airlines on speed dial, but now I need to reach hundreds and thousands of Geraldines. And how am I going to do that? We knew we needed a new way to talk to this user group. We knew we needed a way that was modern and accessible, and so we started tackling things in new ways. One of those new ways was bringing in Code for Canada to help us help drone pilots.
As Code for Canada fellows, our mission was to build a product that made it possible for these recreational drone pilots to fly more safely and within these new regulations. We started our project with user research, and we talked to a lot of people. Our conversations with our stakeholders helped us better understand these regulations. How were they developed, and what tools were being provided for these drone pilots? We also conducted one-on-one interviews with drone pilots across Canada to ask them about their needs. What was most frustrating, what things were exciting, and what did they find most challenging?
The drone pilots that we talked to came from a huge range of backgrounds, from a single mother to first responders. But most of them, like Geraldine, just wanted to take cool pictures and amazing videos with their drone. We had a really special challenge to work through during the fellowship, and that was that we were releasing these new rules at the same time we were trying to do user research. And for our team, it was really important to inform our work with an understanding of how people were going to interact with the regulations, how they were going to understand them or not, as the case may be. And so to deal with this challenge, our fellows became drone pilots themselves.
Drumroll. We call this the immersion study. This helped us really understand what Geraldine would go through when they became a drone pilot. So I went to Best Buy, bought a drone, and tried to figure out what I had to do in order to fly it legally. It was definitely a confusing process, and though I did go out and fly, I'm not sure that I did it legally, but we'll never know.
Well, okay. I mean, I will, actually. Just for the record, I will know. So after we had all of these conversations, we talked to drone pilots, we talked to flight schools, and the fellows became drone pilots themselves. We realized we were hearing the same thing over and over again. People were asking us, well, okay, even if I know what it is you want me to do, how do I do that in real life? People were struggling to make the rules apply to their own scenarios.
So we mapped out the process of the user journey from unboxing a drone to going out to fly. Now, there's a lot more to these steps, but we noticed that our users were having the most trouble with step 3, survey the area. This is better known as the site survey. It's an important part of pre-flight planning.
So a site survey is essentially figuring out when and where you want to fly your drone and making sure that when and where you want to fly is going to be safe. So this involves things like figuring out where airports are, where there might be other aircraft. That could be something that you might not think of, like a float plane possibly taking off or landing from a lake. It's not always a major airport. You have to think about whether there are going to be people around and you can maintain safe distances from them, if there are obstacles that you might crash into, hopefully not. And you need to understand the weather and how that's going to impact your flight. We decided to focus on the site survey as kind of a key point in the user journey that would really allow us to educate our users and put them on the right path. If we can get our drone pilots to think through the when and the how and the where of when they want to fly, and we can get them to understand why those questions are so important and make them important and relevant to the drone pilot themselves, then they're really going to be on the right track to flying safely.
So throughout our research process, we built and tested multiple prototypes with our users. And this iterative process allowed us to learn new information really quickly. For example, we originally thought that our drone pilots needed a checklist tool where they could complete this site survey in the field, on the go, but we were wrong.
Our drone pilots told us they had no idea how to complete a site survey, and they really didn't even know what the regulatory text around a site survey meant. They needed to be taken through the process step by step. So we took all of our research findings together and we created a vision for our product, and it was that it was going to be an educational tool.
So we started building the Drone Companion app, an educational tool for people to be walked through the site survey to understand what they needed to do to complete it. We wrote the regulations in plain language so people could actually understand what they were expected to complete. And we built this tool so that it's reusable, so it can apply to other regulations that might need guidance. Now we're going to share a couple of our insights with you.
And we're also going to show you a demo instead of just talking about it.
As we walk you through the demo, we want to bring you back to Geraldine. It's summer, and they want to go use their drone to take pictures from the sky. Our tool is going to help them better understand exactly what they need to do to complete this site survey so they can quickly go out and get those photos.
So the first insight we got from our drone operators, from our drone pilots, was that there was no reliable single source of information that they could go to that would help them be a safe drone pilot. And they felt overwhelmed by information when they did find it. To give you a taste of that, have a look at this slide. This is some of the information that we expect drone pilots and pilots in general to be able to understand. You can see why it might be overwhelming and confusing.
So we made it easier for our drone pilots to get all the information that they need in one place and to tackle it one at a time. Now, Geraldine knows exactly what they need to do and can complete it all in one application.
The second insight we got from our users was that people had challenges putting the regulation into action. They knew, in some cases, what they needed to do, but not how they were going to do it. So they had trouble taking this regulatory text and making it relevant to where they wanted to fly and when they wanted to fly.
We broke the regulations down into a step-by-step interface so you could tackle one thing at a time. And if Geraldine wasn't sure how to complete a requirement, we provided 3 types of guidance. Tell me more, why is this important, and how do I do it best? The application is also available in French, so you can toggle it at any time if you can understand it better.
Our users were not confident that they were meeting the regulatory requirements. They were doing their absolute best, but they weren't feeling good that what they were doing was good enough.
We wanted our users to feel a sense of completion and confidence, so we quizzed them before and after each task. This way, Geraldine feels really good about what they already knew coming into a task, and even better, leaving the task with something new that they've learned. And if they don't know something, we provide the reasoning and the correct answer to help them learn more.
So while what we have today is a prototype, what we've seen is that we can make an important difference in user experience with regulations. This is a new way of helping people to understand and interact with regulatory text.
And we're keen to see how this approach can be applied to other regulations and users at Transport Canada and beyond.
And we're already seeing some big wins from taking new approaches and doing things a little bit differently. We did the department's first ever Twitter chat where we allowed drone pilots to ask us directly questions about the new rules. Anything goes pretty much. And we were able to reach over 2 million user accounts in just under 90 minutes. We also released an interactive map that helps drone pilots figure out what kind of airspace they're in, whether they're near an airport or not, and some other key information that will help them fly safely. That website is now getting 40,000 hits a month, which for Transport Canada is amazing.
Super yay.
Ultimately, what we want is for the Geraldines of this world to have a good experience with government. We want them to fly their drone safely, and we want them to be able to do what it is they want to do with their drone when they want to do it.
As a Code for Canada fellow, the most exciting part of this project is that drone pilots can be as young as 14 years old, and this might as well be their first experience with government. If our product can make that experience exciting, engaging, and even pleasant, well, that's really amazing. That's what they're going to take away as a government experience.
As a public servant, being a core member of the Code for Canada team was a great learning experience for me. I got to see, it was a huge learning experience for me. As you could, totally threw me off.
Sorry.
I got to see firsthand what all of these buzzwords mean in real life. So being agile, being more user-centered, working more in the open, doing things iteratively. It wasn't always comfortable, and that's why we put this slide up. Fatima has a knack for catching me in photos doing ridiculous things at work, and then sometimes sharing them on social media, sometimes not. But that's the point, right? Is to learn and to do something new, you need to be a little bit uncomfortable. Transport Canada as a whole is really excited to keep incorporating these new ways of working into our day-to-day projects, whether it is this project or beyond. We're really keen to see what the future holds.
In closing, we'd like to thank all of the people that made this project possible. It wouldn't have happened without intense collaboration between all of the teams at Transport Canada, but most namely the Digital Services Directorate and the Remotely Piloted Aircraft Systems Task Force.
Also known as the drone team in plain language. We, of course, have to thank the rest of the core team, the two other fellows who are not here with us tonight, Jen and Andy, and our two other Transport Canada team members, Wei Guang and Olivier. Un grand merci. Thank you so much, team.
Finally, I'd like to dedicate this presentation on behalf of my team to my late father who passed away and didn't get to see me complete the fellowship of my dreams. Thank you.
Thank you.